Welcome everybody to Picks and Bones. Yeah, I'm still alive. I still exist, and still bringing you some of the best new music out there and artists that you may or may not have heard yet. Which today, this is a guy you really need to hear of, and my man Jay Stevens. So welcome onto the show, Jay. How the heck are you doing today?
Thank you, brother. I'm doing wonderful. Just on my way to another gig, hustling as much as I can.
Hey, man, anytime you can get a gig these days, you want to take it and run with it.
Oh, yeah. The scene's changed quite a bit. We're all having to evolve a little bit.
Yeah, I've really noticed that talking with a bunch of different musician friends and everything. Everybody is saying that nowadays, if you're a solo artist, it's a heck of a lot easier for you to get gigs than, if you're playing with a full band because, of all the restrictions and everything. And, and who knows if that's going to change anytime soon, really.
I hope so. But, it's weird because, you kind of gear your set towards whatever crowd you're playing.
Yeah.
And I've always been one to play whatever show I could get. So, I play music venues, but I play bars, pubs, think out for breweries. That's the way I've always been able to tour in this world, But honestly, I've had to change the vibe of my set because it was geared for late night, rowdy, drunk people,
Yep.
Well, and now they're like, hey, can you come play 5:30 to 8:30 at a nice restaurant?
Well,
yeah.
and honestly, for guys like yourself that travel to go play, you really want to be able. That's not bad. I mean, because you're out of there and you're still able to make it home at a decent hour, and you're not having to drive till 4 a.m. because a show didn't end until 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, dude. My wife is a fan of me getting home before midnight.
Oh, no doubt. And I know there's a lot of music or just even venues and bars and clubs and everything that are sharing some concerns about if they do open it back up to the 2 a.m. here in South Carolina, that you've got all these people that have gotten accustomed to pounding it and being hammered before 11. If they got those extra few hours, it's going to be dangerous. I mean, I would hope they would have the good sense to build back up in increments and not just open the floodgates and say, all right, do what you want, guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think from what I've seen, just on my end, just talking with different promoters and where I'm booking, everybody's really doing a good job at taking the precautions. But when it comes down to it, man, it's not really the venues or the promoters that you have to worry about. It's the people that are coming to the shows, whether or not they take precautions or not. I feel very safe on the stage most nights, but I'm pretty distant from everybody,
Yeah. Well, but, there's so many people that just, they don't believe it. They think that you can't tell me what to do. I'm not going to follow your rules. And it's folks like that kind of set everything back, and that they're not realizing, yeah, they think that it's their rights and privileges being stepped on, but no, you're actually you're affecting people's livelihoods.
Yeah, I think the best I heard it said, I saw a post, I think, on Instagram the other day. Like, there's two kinds of people. There's the people that believe the coronavirus is this deadly virus that's out to kill everybody, and then there's the people who believe that it's just a political push for election year. And then the bottom said, but the problem is the coronavirus is both. Both are right. Like,
Yeah.
it's all together, and I'm like, man, that's fair. I just think that, at this point, the way we're doing things, so I don't know if you know this, my wife's a nurse, and she's telling me the best thing people could do is wash their hands. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. She's like, yeah, the mask helps, but washing your hands is what's going to save your life. Like, that's what's keeping the virus from spreading, but I don't know. I haven't heard as much harping on that as I feel like we should be hearing on it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I know with, around my job and everything, we do the elbow thing. Give me some elbow, man. Because, the days of showing that respect with a handshake, is that handshake going to be detrimental to you? Back in the day, nobody thought anything about that. They're like, it's just a handshake.
Oh, yeah, nobody.
It's no big deal.
About a handshake.
But
yeah, I've always been a person, like, I don't really get sick just because the mentality that I've always had, for one, is any kind of physical illness you get is about 90-10 physical to mentality.
Yep.
So I don't have time to get sick. So when my body starts to get sick, I'm like, no, we can't do this. I have things to do.
Yep.
But I hadn't been able to really practice that theory with coronavirus. It's pretty serious,
It is. And I remember when all this first started happening, everybody was like, man, you don't even know anybody that's got it. And I'm like, I've got several friends that have passed from it, so don't even go there. They're like, then when it started hitting in their own backyard, oh, well, it's just like a cold.
Yeah.
But, let's put all this nonsense behind. You got new music coming out, brother. And
I got new music coming out thanks to the coronavirus. I had 3 months to write a record.
And this record is fire. Dude, it is so good. And there's so much good stuff on this album. Kind of share your process for putting this one out. What kind of stuff were you going through? And everybody has to find that one source that drives them to write the music they're writing. Yeah. So kind of share your album story with us.
To be honest with you, I only had a few of the songs and song ideas kind of in my mind because I have a home studio, and I'm just like, all right, man, I'll start this record whenever I have time. I can. I'm not on a label. I don't have to have a deadline. And then the coronavirus hit, and what every singer-songwriter wishes for happened. I had 3 months of free time that I've always complained about not having time to write a record. So, but the problem is that free time came with some consequences, man.
Yeah.
For one, the world shut down. I didn't get laid off from my job, but I might as well got laid off from my job. I only got to work one shift a week, and that shift lasted 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
And but I wasn't too worried at first because all my entire spring tour got canceled because I had the busiest spring I've ever had lined up. Well, then my wife got laid off. She's a nurse, and she got laid off. We were not expecting that.
Yeah.
So here I was with no shows, no job really. My wife didn't have a job, and just trying to figure out, man, I've only done 2 things my whole life. I've waited tables and I've played music for a living. That's all I know. And I think that just in my mind, I started playing with the idea of, well, maybe music's not going to work out. It's been fun trying because I had given up on music and took the full-time salary big boy job for 5 years from about 2013 to 2018. And in 2018, I gave it up to do music again. And I was telling myself, like, man, maybe it's just not in the cards. Maybe I'm just not going to be able to be a musician. But just the thought of it, just the thought of walking away from music made me sick to my stomach, because I don't think I have a choice in the matter. I think if you're a creator, you're born a creator.
Absolutely.
I don't think you get to choose, I mean, you can choose not to create and have a miserable existence. And I just don't plan on having a miserable existence. So I made that decision in quarantine. I was like, you know what? We're going to get through this somehow, some way. And I don't know how we're going to get through it, but what I do know is I'm a musician, damn it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And that just kind of started the title track of the record, or it was going to be the title track, changed his name, but which was Born to Be. And then I went from there to write an entire record about the ups and downs of being a DIY musician, almost like as if I were convincing myself,
Well, and, one, there's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of like the old adage. They're like, man, you're talking to yourself. I'm like, well, sometimes that's the only way you can have an intelligent conversation.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have to give yourself that pep talk and say, listen, this is in your blood. I mean, I know it's in mine. I can't go without music. I have to have music every day. It may, since Corona hit, my music has been literally across the absolute board of things. I mean, There's not much I have not gone down the rabbit hole with and re-listened, or, hey, I've never really gone down this whole train of, Isaac Hayes, going even deeper, listening to some of the old school Isaac Hayes stuff. And I mean, that's,
there you go.
Yeah. I mean, and one that's going to help you as a musician too, because if you're having to self-reflect while you're writing, because now you have time to, nobody puts out good stuff when they're really happy. I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's, there needs to be a case study done on that, because if you're as a musician and pretty much lifelong musician at that, nobody has ever written their best stuff when they're happy. And if you go back and you look straight down the line, people's best albums, were they really happy at that time, or were they going through some adversity that, where they had to focus and self-reflect? Because I think that's where the muse truly gets fed. And I love the fact that you're staying with it, because you would be doing the world a disservice not to be sharing your music with the world and with all of us, schlubs that aren't out there making music anymore.
The other motivation behind when I got into this record, because as I started getting the tracks together, for the record, I was like, I didn't necessarily intend on writing a record that was essentially, a songbook of anthems for DIY musicians. That's essentially what it was. That wasn't my intention originally. It just started coming together like that. But as a songwriter, I feel like we're all writing songs because we want, people always say we want to connect, we want to relate to people. And yeah, I think that's true. But for me, even a deeper way of saying that is, I want people, when they hear my songs, I want them to feel what I feel when I sing my songs. And at that point, I was like, you know what? People have written records for all kinds of audiences, but I'm about to write a record for my people, for my DIY musicians in the upstate out here swinging and hustling every day.
Independent artists. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's
so I was really happy to do that too. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm about to write a record for people that really would appreciate me writing the record.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I know with how everybody was throwing a live stream up and everything, and all that, and that's why I really pulled back on this show, because I mean, a lot of the groups and bands and artists and everything that I've been featuring on my show since I started were people had time to discover them now, because they had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But now on the flip side of that, the blessing side of this, if you really want to, if you can find a ray of sunshine in this vast pit of 2020, is that's giving more fodder for the show, because a lot of people decided, hey, I've got time to put out some new music, or maybe I refocus on, tweaking my craft, because I think so many people don't take, excuse me, they don't take the time to really respect the craft to the level that if you're going to be a professional musician, you have to really, you need to know your craft. You need to be, I work as a chef. You don't go out there and just show up trying to make the most beautiful, delicious dish in the world without learning how to make these flavors work together or these preparations. Oh, yeah. Everything it's got a learning curve. And you can't just buy a guitar and say, hey, I'm a musician now. I saw a lot of that through all this Corona, too. Everybody that ever thought they had a chance of being a musician all of a sudden became a Facebook musician, is what I've been calling them. And, hey, do your thing. I'm glad you found an outlet. But that being said,
some people have found a really good outlet. And I did a few live streams. I did a few festivals. I didn't do many, because what I watched happen with the market over years happened with the digital market in weeks, which was oversaturation.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I had friends that were going live every night. And, power to you. You do you. But I was like, man, I can't get anybody to pay attention to me for more than 30 seconds. You're going live every night. I don't know how that's going to get people to come back and watch you,
Well, and, as much as fans love music, and I'll be the first to admit, I stopped watching altogether. It didn't matter if it was my friends. It didn't matter if it was somebody I'd admired for a long time, because it got to be too much. There was so much oversaturation of it that, one, it was not going to replace a live show. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. It almost made you sad that it wasn't a live show.
Yeah, and, those of us that are obsessed with live music, either performing or observing, because, you love to go see music and hear music as much as you do playing it. I've witnessed that firsthand with you. But it's I don't know what's the best way to phrase that. It's just like it watered and diluted everything so much that magic.
It wasn't a substitute.
Yeah, it's like, there's something magical about hearing a musician and hearing their stuff for the first time and falling in love with their sound. Yeah. And you can't replace that from a venue. If, it's a big difference. Somebody sitting behind a computer, in their study, their living room, or even their studio and filming them playing, as that whole thing on stepping onto a stage. Because it's that whole, I don't know a musician that I've ever known in my life that stepping on stage, there's a switch that gets flipped. Okay, it's time to do work. I'm getting paid to do what I love. And, and I have a responsibility to the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And that,
I agree, man. The stage is where the vibe is,
Yeah, because, you're not feeding off anybody else's energy. Because, if you're on stage, you're getting as much out of it from the feedback as you're giving to them. It's a symbiotic relationship. There we go. That's what we'll use.
Nice.
So what's your...
and like I said, we're slowly I'm starting to get my shows back, man. I'm starting to play out again. I'm very excited about that, because it was a dark place for a while with no live music.
Yeah, and people are finally, my wife's finally, has ventured out with me a few times to go hear, some solo acts and everything. And there's a lot of people that are still not getting out at all, and that need that and crave that. But let's get back on the music. What's your favorite track off the new album?
Oh, that's a tough one. I honestly though, I think my favorite track on the record is probably the opening track, Born to Be.
Come on.
I think it just kind of, that song, what people don't realize is that song has been in my repertoire for roughly about 8 years now. Now, it didn't sound like that 8 years ago, but I started that idea of a song 8 years ago and just never could, it's been rewritten so many times, but I just never was happy with it. And then when I came, visited it again this time, and I got what I got, I was like, this is what this song was meant to be. But it wasn't ready to be written 8 years ago because I had not been through what I needed to be through. But now that I've, because 8 years ago, I was quitting music to get a big boy job.
Yeah.
But now that I got the big boy job, and now that I gave up the big boy job to pursue music, like, I've been through all the things I needed to go through to write that song like it was supposed to be written. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that whole trial by fire. You're not, diamonds from coal. It's until you get that pressure put on you, that's when, or the adversity, that's when the good stuff shines. And and
yeah, man, that song and stuff, that's going to be the second single. It'll be releasing shortly after the record drops, and I just think it just encompasses the whole record, and what the whole record is about is that track. Because every single song on the record can be connected to that track. It's like the theme song for the record.
No, that's awesome. And we'll actually share that.
What was your favorite track on the record? That's what I'm interested in.
I really dig that one myself too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all so good because each song kind of has its own life. You've got some kind that a little more upbeat and a little more punchy, and then you've got some that's a little more bluesy, and it's just incredible. Honestly,
I had a tough time when I was setting it up for release on Spotify and whatnot. I had a real rough time selecting the genres of this record because it's a little all over the place. It's like, I don't know, like indie South pop. I don't know.
Well,
some of those songs are pretty twangy. Some of them are pretty rock and roll. Some of them got drum loops and synthesizers all over them.
And there's a couple that do have a little more of a pop feel, but that's okay. You're Carolina Clay, for one. We've already established that a long time ago, because once again, you're taking a unique sound that Carolina is becoming known for.
Yeah.
And you could punch in blues. You could, you're kind of cover the gambit. But you're an independent artist too, and indie music is still. I'm sorry, that's where it's like the difference between somebody playing college football and pro football. Independent
Yeah.
artists are those college ones that still, it's about the music. Yeah, they'd like to get paid one day, but
Yeah.
they don't want to. They don't want to give up their artistic license, if you will, and they don't want to give up on who they are.
That's a great analogy with the college football versus pro football, because pros are out there playing damn near perfect because they're getting the paychecks to be perfect.
Yeah.
Now, the college players, they don't play much perfection, but God, they play with so much more heart.
Yep.
You know, like, and I think that's the perfect analogy for like an indie musician versus like a top 40 professional. Not knocking any professional musicians. I mean,
no. I mean,
the biggest gangster in the world. He's a hustler.
Yeah, I mean, and not everybody's a Jason Isbell. I mean,
Yeah.
let's just call facts facts. Not everybody is able to put that out there, but it's those guys like yourself and like so many of our friends locally that are still just grinding and grinding to put out the best they can. Just if you get that chance to blow up, we're all going to be so damn proud that it's not even funny. But it's those other guys, it's those guys that are, it's still, you're learning, you're putting more effort into it, you're doing what you got to do because of your own integrity. And I think, maybe all this happened, for a reason, to make people kind of look at that and realize, hey, I can do better. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do better in whatever your chosen path is in life, on whether you're going to be a musician or an artist or a banker or a real estate agent or anything. There's always room for growth.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I'm not, as much as I'm ready for the world to get back to normal, which I don't know if we ever will quite get back to 100% normal. I just try to tell my life in this whole thing, every shitty situation I've been in my life, I've gotten past it. And when I look back on it, I'm glad it happened like it did, because it, molded me to be where I need to be. And, as a unit, as a world, we're going to get past this too. And it's going to put us where we need to be. I've learned a lot about myself in this. I've really learned how to save money. I've really learned how to eat less and drink less,
Right.
And at first I learned how to drink more, and that became a problem.
And see, and
my tolerance coming out of quarantine was pretty impressive.
And see, and I had drank more before all that, and I've pretty much cut it all out.
Yeah.
There are other means for enlightenment. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, yeah. And you were talking about, the DIY musicians. Not everybody's Jason Isbell. I can't speak for everybody, but you know what kind of vibe I get, and this is taken right out of a lyric on my record. I don't have interest in fame or fortune. I learned a long time ago, I don't want any more money than I need to pay my bills and feed my family. Because once you get more money than that, there's pressure to do the right thing with money. And I don't want that. So for me as a musician, I have no interest in what people call making it. I just want to make it work, which means if I get very successful and millions of people love my songs, so be it. I'm not going to fight that. But my goals in life are to just make a living playing music, and a very modest living at that. And if, whatever comes my way, I'm ready for. But if I just end up playing the Southeast for the rest of my life in restaurants and pubs and bars, I'm so okay with that, man. Because when I go to work, I love what I do.
Exactly. And, what do they say? If you love what you do, you never feel like you're working a day in your life.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that have the same attitude, at least local musicians, that, they know their stuff may never get played on a radio station somewhere. And that's fine. because, you know, they're still doing what they love. And if they're able to have a subsistence, sustainable living doing it, then they're good with that. You don't have to have, you know, big houses and, you know, a $300,000 car and $5,000 boots and pretend to be shaking your ass, calling yourself a country star, and, you know,
country boys and bedazzled jeans.
Yeah, the bedazzled jeans, girlfriend jeans. That's always been our joke. Man. I'm like, if I see a dude wearing jeans that got any kind of bedazzled on back pockets or anything, I'm like, you don't have a boyfriend, you got a girlfriend.
That's one of the things. Some of the artists you've had on your show are local Spartanburg guys. They're a lot of country guys.
Yeah.
Now I don't write country music, but I'm as southern as they come, and right. I got lucky enough to be part of a songwriters around. But quite a few people you've had on your show. Old Trev Hewitt was on there. Who else was at that show?
Trev's
anyway,
awesome.
I'm not going to get into names, but man, I love meeting those boys. It made me want to write some country music too. So I don't know what this next record might look like. But
hey, man, do it. There's plenty of room.
Saying.
There's plenty of room.
Well, that's the beauty of being an independent artist. Ain't nobody telling me what to do. I can write whatever I want.
Exactly. Well, and that's why, you know, I know there's not really a comparison, but take Sturgill Simpson. He's like, I'm going to do what I want to do. If you don't like it, there's the door. Fuck off.
Yeah. You know who I think is perfect for that? And this band was a big inspiration for me writing this record. Not necessarily their sound, because my record doesn't sound like theirs. I wish it did, because they're amazing. But just their mentality, or his take on music. But I am a diehard American Aquarium fan.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love them. And what I love the most about them is they prove to me that, hey, you don't have to pick a genre and stay in that lane. You can write whatever you want to write and blend it all together on stage if you want to.
Yeah, B.J. Barham's not going to tell anybody's going to tell him how to do things.
Right? and that's how I went into when I started producing this record with Matt Langston on Rock Thunder Recordings was, hey, we don't really, because he was like, so what kind of record do you want to make? And I was like, I just want to make a me record. It don't have to be swampy. It don't have to be southern. It don't have to be rock. It don't have to be pop. It can be all that. And that was really fun tracking it, you know, without any limits. Because I tracked the drums on it too, you know. And it was, I don't know. It was just, I really like the freedom of tracking a record with not a specific genre in mind. It wasn't a headache until I started setting it up to release on platforms and stuff.
Yeah. Because then you had to pigeonhole.
Because they only have a certain amount. Yeah, I was like, oh, God, what? Pop, country, rock, maybe.
Or just how about, you know, southern? You know, because that's a pretty good stamp.
Yeah.
Where have... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm sure you heard, you know, I put organ all over that record. And I love the organ on that record. And there's one reason I did that. One of my favorite all-time records is Bringing Down the Horse by the Wallflowers. And, man, they have organ all over that record. And that was the one thing I asked about. Now that I've done that, you know how hard it is to find an organ player in the upstate?
Honestly, I could have given you a phone number.
Well, I might still need one because the release show is on October 29th.
And he's got a, what is it, a Hammond B12?
Oh, whew.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is well known for his organ playing and keyboarding and whatnot. Yeah, we'll talk about that one.
We might have to do some talking off mic.
Yeah. And you would love him. He's been a kind of a contemporary Christian artist playing all over the world since the 80s and has had a huge resurgence in like the last 10 years. So, I mean, you would love this guy. Well, I know everybody...
I know who you're talking about. We'll see.
Yeah, you might know. And we're going to actually... We're going to share couple of the songs when we... off of your new album to kind of bring us into this episode and kind of in the middle and to end this one so people can kind of get a little taste.
Yeah.
I want to dive into our bare bones, and let's do some little quick, easy questions and everything, and then we'll talk about when everything's going to be coming out and where they can catch you next, and all that good stuff. Man. What is your favorite guitar to play?
What's my favorite guitar to play? On the stage, it'd be my Gibson Hummingbird. But at home, I write everything on a 20-year-old Spiegel S6 that I never play live.
Nice. Okay, what's a
Two
band?
Very different ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, it really is. You're kind of covering both eras. What's a band you're really into right now?
American Aquarium too. I've been listening to so much lately. I know we already mentioned that. That's who I'm listening to more than anybody right now.
I can respect that. What is your all-time favorite book?
All-time favorite book, probably going to be The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto.
I've never heard of that.
I hadn't either, but you know how I heard of it? I was at a Chris Stapleton concert in Charlotte, and I was real drunk, drinking those, $12 tall boys.
Right.
And I was eavesdropping somebody's conversation they were having about the book. And they were like, man, this is life-changing stuff. And it says, and he would close on from the book. I liked what I heard, and I drunk tested it myself. And then the next day I looked it up, and I went and bought the book, and they were right. It is life-changing.
I'm going to have to check that out myself, for sure. All right. Are you a barbecue guy?
Yeah.
Pulled pork or brisket? Dry rub or sauce?
I'm going to have to say pulled pork and sauce.
Sweet or vinegar?
See, I don't think it's fair to have to choose between such delicious options, but
all of it. Mix it. Mix it.
I'd say vinegar.
Okay. What was the first record you ever bought for yourself or picked out for yourself for someone to purchase for you if you didn't buy it yourself?
The first record I ever bought for myself that I picked out myself, and I only went off of it because I saw a poster on my buddy's wall. MXTX, Live at the Show.
Okay.
I'm a punk rock kid at heart, dude. I spent 10 years traveling the world in a pop punk band.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Probably, well, it depends on the level of concert, because I grew up playing drums in a Southern gospel band, so we played concerts all.
Well, yeah, I mean, that outside of where you were playing or anything, okay. What was the first,
I think
big show?
My parents took me to see Rebecca St. James at Ballet Center.
Okay.
I think she's a big Christian contemporary artist.
I remember her.
Star Wars. I think I was in my church youth group. Is probably what it really was.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we all saw good shows like that too growing up. Star Wars or Star Trek?
What it was, the Bilo Center.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh man, so if I have to choose between the two, Star Wars, but I really don't care for either.
Fair enough.
I don't have the time to invest in that. I got records to write.
Hey, that's a good answer. That's a respectable answer. Okay, this is one of everybody.
I wouldn't get too caught up into it if I looked into it,
Right, and that rabbit hole is deep.
Oh yeah.
Everybody loves this question. What is your jam song? Doesn't matter if you've heard this thing 1,000 times. You're still going to roll the windows down and you're going to crank that volume up and you're just going to sing to your, as loud and happy as possible.
Okay, is it okay that it's not a song, it's a complete full record?
Sure, bring it.
Every song on this record that comes on takes me to a special place, and I'll sing it to the top of my lungs. Third Eye Blind, self-titled, first album.
Very interesting.
Every single song on that record holds a very special place in my heart.
And that's the first time they've ever been mentioned on this show. And that's
Third Eye Blind?
Yeah. And I can dig it. I can get down with that.
Hey, I'm 36 years old, man. The 90s were real important to me.
Man,
Everclear is coming in a close second on that one.
I just turned 50. I can't even tell you how many of those come close to home for me. Okay, a person living or dead that you would have loved to have taken, or you would love to take the stage with.
A person living or dead that I love to take the stage with?
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake.
Okay, that's another new one. Do tell.
Just because, I mean, for one, I think he's just an over-the-top professional at everything he does. Like, the dude is just 100% hustle, 100% of the time. But he's one of the few people, like celebrities, that I've just kind of got this sense he's a real good dude, like, for real. Like, I feel like he could sit down and have a beer with you, whether you're famous or not, you know?
He's real and legitimate. I get that.
Yeah, I feel like I'd like to have that stage with him. So I'd be like, hey, man, let's go get a beer after the show and just, you know, sit down and hang out with him for a while.
All right. Do you
I'm
have...
glad I'm giving you new answers, man.
No, I love it. I love it. Do you have a life mantra or, you know, a personal little mental, you know, mission statement, if you will?
Well, I do. I do have something that, you know, I haven't always lived my life by. My themes were always there. But I got it when the light bulb went off in my head that I had to play music. And it's a lyric from a little band out of Charleston, South Carolina called Shovel and Rope.
I love them.
But I apply this lyric to everything I do. You ready for it?
Hit me with it.
It ain't what you got. It's what you make.
That's right. See.
So if you're in a situation where you don't have what you need to deal with that situation, make it.
Yep.
Figure it out.
And just do your best.
That's how I have a suitcase drum.
And see, I love that. That's awesome. All right. Besides yourself, who should people be checking out musically wise?
Besides myself, who should be checking
Yeah, who's some artists that people should be checking out that they may not have ever heard of or know before? And they can be some of our local friends.
I want to shout out some of them to make sure it's worth it. Who did I heard somebody recently that really, I tell you what, couple bands. Squirrel Level Road. I hadn't paid much attention to them, but they were shouting me out on Instagram or whatever, and so I, tried to return the favor, and then I noticed they were playing at a venue right down by my house. I went to see those dudes, and man, they are on the money. They are so good. Trying to think. I know very recently there was a band that, I'm really digging some Brother Oliver right now.
Okay.
They were, the first couple times I saw them, this is cool. It's this weird little psychedelic folk thing. But the last time I saw them on stage, I couldn't take my eyes off of them. I don't know if my taste changed or if they're up in their game, but man, they are dope. And
it may be a little bit of everything.
Yeah, maybe it was some of it all. It's funny because, you see a band a couple times and you think, no, and then it's just something special. You see them again and they just kind of change the perspective.
And that's a good thing because that means that they're not getting stagnant.
Oh, yeah.
They're constantly evolving.
Trying to think. I want to mention some people that I know that probably some of the people haven't heard. I know one of my Spartanburg favorites is Abby Elmore Band. They're doing really good right now. Let's see if I can top it off with one more local that I like. Drew Spencer, man. You know who Drew Spencer is?
I know the name.
He used to be in a band called Buck Shoals. But he's just kind of doing the solo thing now. But, man, I want to talk about a songwriter with a voice. Check out some Drew Spencer.
Absolutely. All right, one more question. If you had a spirit animal, what would it be and why?
Say it one more time.
If you had a spirit animal, what would it be and why?
Oh, if I had a spirit animal?
Yeah.
I think it would be a cow. Because just because of how much I mind my own business, and no matter what comes, no matter what storm rolls through, no matter what hits my life, I'm not gonna let it control me. I'm just gonna keep my calm,
Chew
take
your
it as it
grass.
comes, and turn lemons into lemonade. Yeah, like I'm not a confrontational person, man. I feel like sometimes the world would just be such a better place if so many people would just get out of everybody else's business, just mind your own, you know?
Right.
Like a cow.
Yeah, I like that. That's another first, and that's a very, very respectable answer and well thought out. I appreciate that. All right.
Well, I can assure you it wasn't well thought out.
Hey, man, it's great. Okay, tell them when the new album's coming out.
All right, it is dropping, and I think we're 2 weeks away now. October 16th is when it drops.
Sweet.
It's also the same day my buddy Jarrett Forster's album drops, which is why I'm going to play his album release show with him on the 16th at the Pump House, and he's going to play my album release show with me on the 29th at the Freight Yard.
And Jarrett is a friend of the show and has been on before, and a good buddy of mine as well. So I can appreciate that. And that this will be coming out right then. So, get out there, go support both these shows, because, you got both of these guys are great artists. And you buy the music. I know everybody does the digital download. Go ahead and buy a copy. It's not going to hurt you.
Well, here's the thing you need to know about this record. I've never done this before, and it's risky. I'm going to do it. This record will be, it's going to be on all the streaming platforms, obviously.
Yep.
But because I depend so much on my live show for my living, and I just love creating music for people, I'm not pressing this album on CD.
Okay.
It's only going to be on the digital platforms, but I am pressing it on vinyl.
Nice.
And there's some bonus songs on the vinyl that I don't want to get into right now.
Okay.
But you need to get out to shows, and you need to buy vinyl records, because that makes the world a better place.
Absolutely. And any merch you can find, because merch makes the world go round too.
Merch feeds me, man.
Yeah, merch puts gas in the truck. Merch puts food in your belly, and keeps Jay happy. Well, man,
keeps me lightly chunky.
That sounds like a Brian Wagner term if I've ever heard it. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm so proud of you and your new music and everything. And, I can't wait for people to get to hear this. That's the one thing I love so much about doing what I do with this, is I get to hear so much new music that I can't talk about until we're right there when we can talk about it. And, I've listened to this album, God, I know 8 or 10 times already. And it's just like, I pick up different nuances and everything. So I can't wait for everybody else to hear it. Guys, get out there. Ladies, gentlemen, aliens, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, get out there and go check out these shows. Go support Jay Stevens. He's a bad man, and he's been doing this music thing for quite a while now, and he loves what he does. I promise y'all. Thank me later. And, go support that Forrester kid. He doesn't suck. Is there any shout-out?
He's going to owe me for that.
Yeah, right? Is there any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, man, make sure y'all check out Howl in the Valley. They're writing new music, and obviously it's one of my favorite bands ever. So.
Yeah, you had a little thing to do with that, too.
I had a little bit to do with that band.
Yeah, just a little. Great band, too. Definitely got some good haunting music. Well, Jay, thank you so much.
Folk side.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. And folks, seriously, get out there, support them, support local music, support, any way you can. We all need this in our lives, especially now. And with that being said, be good to each other, be kind to each other. And you know what? Just don't be a dick. On that, we're out of here.
Thank you, brother.